I'll jump in here. We've got some breaking news. Special counsel Jack Smith is seeking to dismiss the Trump election interference case in Washington, D.C. We should note that this was expected. We've been reporting for a few weeks now that this would happen since the DOJ cannot prosecute a sitting president. Today, this news brings us one step closer to this case formally being dropped. The judge is going to need approval for this before anything is officially dismissed, as David's reporting, and that could come as soon as today. I believe David Spunt is up now. He's got this news for us. David.
Well, hey, Sandra, after almost 2 years of this Jack Smith saga, things seem to be ending for him. We just need the judge to...
I wonder if Bill Clinton called him. I heard the news. Congrats, man. Yes.
Sign off on it after thousands of pages and hundreds of hours of interviews. It comes down to just 6 pages. Jack Smith, the special counsel, asking Judge Tanya Chutkan to dismiss this superseding indictment. This is the election interference case in Washington, D.C., where Donald Trump was charged with trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Ultimately, Smith says that DOJ does not prosecute sitting presidents.
Wow.
This never went to trial. It was supposed to go to trial earlier this year. That never happened. So he's asking to dismiss this case. Separately, we're waiting to see if and how he's asking to move forward in the documents case in Florida.
God.
Now, you may say that case was dismissed this summer, and that's true. It was dismissed this summer. However, Jack Smith, at the time, he didn't know Donald Trump was going to win, and he filed an appeal with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta. We're told that he's also going to be filing something soon, winding down that case as well. So as of now, these cases are not officially dropped yet, but Smith is asking Judge Chutkan, who's expected to move along with it, and say, okay, we're going to drop this case because we cannot prosecute a sitting president. Separately, if I may add, President-elect Trump said that he would fire Jack Smith within, quote, 2 seconds of taking office.
He's just going to fire. Oh, my God.
It doesn't appear that the president-elect will even have the opportunity to do that because we've been reporting for several weeks now that Jack Smith will be gone at that point on January 20th at noon. He will have stepped down. So at some point over the next several weeks, he's going to step down. They're going to close up the special counsel office, and this case will not go to trial. So while it was expected, it's certainly a big deal to see that special counsel Jack Smith, who's been a thorn in the side of Donald Trump for over 2 years, is officially asking a judge to drop his case.
Oh, my
David Spunt on that breaking news for us. Just reading through the government's motion to dismiss this.
Jesus.
It reads, quote, in part, quote, the government has conferred with the defense counsel who does not object to this motion. Big news, John.
Oh, my God.
Breaking this past hour, the judge in President-elect Trump's New York criminal case is now agreeing to delay his sentencing indefinitely. Judge Juan Merchan is also granting the Trump team's request.
By the way, these are 2 separate cases. Like, you got to understand, like, Trump was like, he was on the hook for a lot of stuff.
To dismiss the case entirely. A new sentencing date has not been set, and Merchan says he will hold off on any immunity decision until arguments from both sides have been reviewed. Now, Trump spokesman Stephen Chung reacting with this statement, quote, in a decisive win for President Trump, the hoax Manhattan case is now fully stayed and sentencing is adjourned. President Trump won a landslide victory as the American people have issued a mandate to return him to office and dispose of all remnants of the witch case legal hunt. All of the sham lawfare attacks against President Trump are now destroyed, and we are focused on making America great again. That's where the focus should be on this Friday.
Oh, boy.
Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany.
Wow.
Here with my co-host, Emily Campagno.
Well, there
also
we
joining
go.
us, Dagan McDowell, Fox Business anchor and co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business. Tammy Bruce, Fox News contributor and author of Fear Itself. And Todd Pyro, co-host of Fox and Friends First. But first, let's bring in Fox News legal editor Carrie Urban. Carrie, the procedural posture of this case, there was supposed to be a sentencing on November 26th.
So he just gets
Trump's
away with everything.
Respond and say, no, there are constitutional...
just gets away with all of it. I find this to be fucking amazing. Oh, wow. Oh, man. He just keeps getting away with it. Yes. The lesson is if you want to be president, commit all the crime that you can to win. Oh, my God. No need to self-pardon. History is written by the victors. It seems that way. Does he actually get away, or is there not enough actual evidence? I think that if there was enough evidence, that he still would have got away. I don't think it would have mattered.
Impediments. He is, after all, about to be the president. This should be dismissed entirely. Now we await the motions on December 2nd to that end. Now, Mark Levin made this point to me, and I think it's an important one. Bragg could have moved to dismiss this case. The judge could have dismissed this case. Now the president's lawyers have to effectively ask to dismiss. This case is dead, waiting for dismissal. So what is Mershon waiting for?
Well, that's a great point. And while today is certainly a positive development for the Trump team, we need to continue to exercise caution in how we approach what Judge Mershon is going to do once these arguments...
What happens after he's not president? It won't matter. He'll have pardoned himself from everything, and then it'll be gone. Like, guys, he's not going to jail. I know that, like, people were fucking fantasizing about putting Trump in jail for, like, years. You can't pardon state charges? Really? Well, what happens when he just does it? Like, just like, bro, do you really think it's not going to happen? Like, I'm sorry. I mean, does anybody actually think this guy's going to get in trouble for anything?
In before him. And Kaylee, we already know what both sides are arguing. Donald Trump is arguing it should be thrown out for a number of reasons. The SCOTUS immunity case, the fact that Donald Trump became president, which raises all kinds of constitutional questions, the fact that the Department of Justice has a policy that you can't indict, prosecute a sitting president, and that in the spirit of that policy, the state of New York should take the same approach.
Man.
And Alvin Bragg's office has already laid out their argument. They said completely openly last week in a letter that they submitted to the court that they plan to oppose Trump's request to throw out the case. And the reason I think we need to exercise caution is because at every step of the way, Judge Mershon has ruled against Donald Trump in one way or the other. Now, of course, legally and politically, he should throw out the case. It's a loser for so many reasons. And both Alvin Bragg's office and I would say Judge Mershon have manipulated the law along the way in order to get the result that they wanted. But we don't know.
Imagine history class talk about this in 50 years. This is not even a footnote. Like, really, it like all kinds of other crazy shit has happened. Like, this is not even that big of a deal.
It's going to happen. And in fact, if he were still to rule against Donald Trump and deny this motion to dismiss, you could still see a sentencing date set before Inauguration Day. It would be foolish, but my only point is, let's wait and see what happens here.
That's wild.
It would be really funny if they tried to sentence him before he becomes president. Like, I kind of would want that to happen because it would just be very entertaining.
Or Inauguration Day. At that point, I would think we would get
So he didn't commit fraud? We still talk about Watergate? Do you want to know why we talk about Watergate? It's because Nixon stepped down. Remember that? Nixon was gone. That's the difference.
Sort of Supreme Court intervention. But Carrie, you talk about the reasons this should be dismissed. I want to pull up the New York Times. We have something called prosecutorial discretion in this country. Prosecutors sit down. Would this case similarly situated have been brought, and therefore should I bring it? Well, let's bring in no friend of Donald Trump. That's the New York Times, the esteemed gray lady, and here's what they found. A New York Times review and interviews with election law experts strongly suggest that New York State prosecutors have never before filed an election law case involving a federal campaign. Bringing an untested case against anyone, let alone a former president of the United States, now president-elect, carries the risk that a court could throw out or narrow the case. The case was brought by the prosecutor. The judge did not grant the motion to dismiss. And now Merchan's sitting by after an election of the American people. Why have the safeguards failed Donald Trump from day one in Bragg's office?
Because both Bragg and Judge Merchan are operating completely as political animals. It's really that simple.
It won't matter. Like, I just, why is she yelling? I don't know why either. Why do you think Nixon stepped down instead of just fighting or accepting it, to being honest with the people? I have no idea why. I mean, I don't know. But like, all I'm saying is that basically, don't you find it odd that the good guys have won every outcome in history? That the good guys always win? Wow. Wow, what a surprise. That's crazy.
The New York legal system at this point is a facade for a political operation when it comes to Donald Trump. And even, I mean, and then this is all against the backdrop of what's happening with Daniel Penny. The priorities of those running law enforcement in New York City and the state overall are just, they're upside down. And by the way, Kayleigh, when I say sentencing before Inauguration Day, what I mean by that is, in theory, Judge Merchan could still set a sentencing date where he could slap a fine on Donald Trump, for instance, and then be done with the whole thing. Because the worst thing he could do, of course, outside of not dismissing the case, of course, would be to hold a sentencing in some kind over Donald Trump's head throughout.
It would be funny if they tried to sentence him while he was the president. That would be a good idea. Like, that would be really funny, too.
The pendency of his presidency, which is not just, would be unfair to anyone. But to your earlier question about why this case is, you know, a complete loser in so many levels, let's go over some of these facts. Alvin Bragg's office manipulated the statute of limitations to even get this case going again in the first place. Alvin Bragg's office manipulated the law by converting misdemeanors into felonies in a way that has never been done before in the state of New York to anyone. And then I would say that Judge Merchan manipulated justice itself.
If you look at these cases one by one, you'll see how it's all lawfare. For example, the hush money trial was about a bookkeeping error. I could go on and on. See, like, people like you, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, you're really not thinking about it in the perspective that it exists in. Here's really what's going on. Ain't nobody give a fuck whether it happened or not. You really think that the people that voted for Trump, you really think they get, like, what if every single one of the accusations that this guy got accused of was he was dead to rights? Like, he 100% paid a stripper hush money to not talk about it. Do you think that anybody would have changed their vote? No. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, so nobody would believe it if it was about, people would not give a fuck. That's not illegal, though. Even if he broke the law, they wouldn't have cared. Like, people didn't give a fuck about that to begin with.
Half ago said this case at the indictment stage should have been dismissed.
So he getting away with everything.
Never stated the underlying crime that was used to bootstrap.
You're wrong. There's a lot of different kinds of people out there. All right.
34 time-barred misdemeanors into 34 felonies, which is exactly what Kerry was talking about. So it should have gone away before it ever went to trial. But
I think
about, and the voters think about, all of the resources and man-hours spent pursuing this fraudulent case, this legal warfare against Donald Trump, and all of the victims in New York City who Alvin Bragg did not stand up for, and all of the victims of crimes who have not seen
34 felonies? That's a lot of felonies.
Pursuing something for his own political gain.
Wow.
This is a sewage lagoon of liberalism. Do not move here.
And they're getting shit on. Like, these guys just getting shit on for doing it. And like, here's the truth, right? This is what's going to happen. Is the moment that he gets in charge, he's probably going to ruin these dudes' lives. Like, I mean, if I was Trump, that's what I would do. Like, I absolutely would do that. Like, you do whatever you can, right? To show everybody, like, hey, this is what happens. He's vindictive as hell. He is. That's what I would do. 34 cases of false allegations. Everybody is lying except for him. That's right. Trump didn't do anything wrong ever. Everybody who has criticized him at all is lying. He's never committed any crime. He's never done anything wrong. He's never broken the law. He would never do that. And that's it. Right? I mean, is that right, guys? Oh, man. People don't give a fuck. They don't care. Like, they don't give a fuck. That's what it is.